Good evening, Samuel and Sherry. Thank you for the opportunity. This is a major opportunity even for Africa, where we'd like to share the QMS, the Quality Management System, and the MQS, the Management Quality System, with everybody. We have put together 19 slides, which will give us sufficient information on how it all works together. It is my pleasure to be here as the CEO of the African Excellence Forum. Thank you very much, Samuel. You and your team have done a superb job putting it all together. We are extremely excited and delighted. Also, it gives me a pleasure to represent the Global Excellence Council as a member of it, as the CEO of Business Assessment Services, which is the company called BAS in South Africa that run the SPEAR program and the program that you will see tonight. So we look forward to rolling it out to the creative technology team in Cairo, and then of course to share it with our customer bases in North Africa and the Middle East. Looking at the subject matter of QMS and MQS, as you can see there, QMS is very much represented by ISO 9001, whereas the MQS is represented by 9004. So these two are not opposing tools. In fact, they're part of the 9000 family, so they're very much working back to back. And tonight I will share with you how the QMS and the MQS collectively, with a tool which we will share with you later on called the SPEAR, provides for a very, very exciting operational excellence capability for their users. However, at this stage, the confusion: is it QMS? Is it MQS? What are the benefits as far as the two are concerned? Now, for people who know ISO 9000, not a problem. For 9004, well, not many people know 9004 in the context of the discussion tonight. So we do have some confusion in the marketplace. And of course, the big question is, do they cover the same requirements? So we hope to give you some answers to that as the evening goes along. Further, do they address improvement? Oh, certainly. Both QMS and both MQS certainly address improvement, but the difference is the requirements that we look at. And the question is, where do these requirements come from as part of quality improvement programs and, of course, the management technologies? Both rely on high quality results. Yes, certainly. So we will open up the basket in terms of QMS, what it focuses on, and we'll open up the MQS basket to see what that focuses on. So we will get those answers so that tonight we can relay the fear of confusion as far as QMS and MQS is concerned. As far as recognition is concerned, the last item, certainly, both recognize people for performance, but again, let's return to the first bullet. What are the requirements that we look at when we look at QMS and MQS? One of the best places to start is to say, what is ISO 9001, what is ISO 9002, or for that matter, QMS and MQS, is to look at the slide that we now currently see. The green is the space of ISO 9001 QMS. Equally, the slight orange, that's the space of 9004. So clearly, in the ISO documentation, there are two different areas of focus as far as these two technologies are concerned. Yes, we need ISO 9001, and certainly we can enhance the value of our organizational output far quicker, better, faster by investing in 9004. So both recognized. Let's see how they come together. QMS focuses on product, service, and customer confidence. So customers want to know, are they getting value for their money? That's what we're going to get out of the QMS answer. Of course, PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, is a fundamental element of QMS, and that is broadly known across the globe. On the other hand, let's look at MQS. MQS focuses on the organization, and then, of course, in the classic word, it focuses on customer satisfaction. However, in my presentation tonight, and the MQS, which links to the SPEAR, which is the operational excellence model that we have changed that a little bit by talking about customer dissatisfaction. For it is very difficult for us as organizations to manage customer satisfaction, because that satisfaction is derived from the customers themselves. And in terms of their perspectives, very little for us to do anything about. However, we can find out where we have problems with our product or our management style, and then we can work on the dissatisfaction. So that is a new perspective that we are sharing with you tonight. Customer dissatisfaction versus customer satisfaction. Certainly, MQS also works with PDCA. And you will see later on when we roll it out, how PDCA, both for QMS and for MQS, are the elements used to design and construct the management systems or the performance systems of these two entities. So the real difference is the degree of applying quality principles, but this time not to product and service, but to apply it to customer or at least management practices, which is rarely done holistically done in organizations. And that possibly is the big influence of MQS on organizational performance and success, is that we get the management practices up to the level of the product and service practices, and that sets the scene for a beautiful relationship between QMS and MQS as far as performance, profitability, and sustainability of the organization is concerned. So this is an interesting slide. It's got the blocks of the African excellence model or the African Arabian excellence model. So the question that we want to ask here, for the man in the street out there, do they know the green is now the MQS, as you can see at the top or the right and bottom, and the slighter orange is the QMS. Interestingly enough, in research that we did about 10, 15 years ago, those numbers was some of the numbers that we got out of the research. So QMS, in the whole organizational perspective of the criteria that you see in the various blocks, QMS only addresses 33%, or in fact, if we had to summarize it, 40% of all the processes in the organization. So now the question is, what happens to the other 60%? Because they are sometimes technically not part of a QMS certification because they address certain parts of the organization, but not the whole organization. So what MQS does, it's going to look at that green areas, which is the other 60%. And of course, then in the final analysis, you bring QMS, MQS together, and of course, you get a far better, a far more profitable and successful organization. This is an interesting slide. I have not seen many organizations or people in organizations that do this analysis to find out what is the contribution of QMS versus MQS. They might not know it as MQS, but they will certainly know it as the management systems of the organization. So your product and service on the one hand, 40%, but your management services on the other side, a major gap in the complete quality model of the organization. That's an interesting prospect for people to look at. Now, over the years, QMS and MQS have been around. Let's have a look and see how they've come together. Prior to the early era of business excellence and so on, we had total quality management. So we look at the period before 2008, and of course, then we have the QMS era. On the other side, the green area, we'll come back to that in a minute or two. But the QMS area, classically, prior to 2008, going back to 1987, we had excellence models looking at sustainability in the era after TQM. So out of that era came a big focus on standards. 1987 through to the 90s, big focus on standards. Of course, everybody was looking at efficiency. They wanted to be more efficient, not so much effective. That comes a few decades later, but at that stage, efficiency was brought about by 9001. Along comes 9004. Equally, a bit later, again 9001, the 2008 version. So in that era, QMS underwent quite a bit of change, of course, all for the better in the space of product quality or service quality. Post that era, we found a new cost perspective that came into the discussion of quality between product and service quality and the rest of the organization. And in fact, it started a new perspective called business effectiveness. Now that effectiveness was based on cost of quality, cost of doing business, and in fact, it started a new era in quality and management globally. In our case, we call it a differentiated approach to quality and excellence. That's actually the early start of MQS. Now, MQS is not a term that is known in the industry. It is not known in the ISO vocabulary. MQS is a term and an acronym which was developed by Business Assessment Services and the South African Excellence Movement over the last 25 to 30 years. So it is now that we bring it into the space of quality and excellence as part of operational excellence. But QMS focuses on 9001, whereas MQS focuses on 9004. So there is this differentiation between quality management and management quality. And we will elaborate on that as we go along. Very soon in that era, in 2009, we saw the new 9004. At that stage, we started getting hybrid models, meaning models which look like excellence models, but they're not exactly the same as the models, and organizations started to customize their models for internal application. The term came up, hybrid models. Now, down here in the southern part of Africa at that stage, we developed the tool called SPEAR. Now, SPEAR is a classic operational excellence tool. It is a classic management quality system, and it focuses on the management, the quality of management, as we term it, management quality. Now, we'll see how SPEAR works as we go on. 9001, 2015 came along, a magnificent improvement on 9001. And of course, it was very quickly followed by ISO 9004, 2018. Now, very interesting that much focus around the globe goes into 9001, but insufficient or very little focus goes into 9004. So the question that we need to ask is, how come 9004 does not? Of course, you can't get your organizations accredited and registered like you do with 9001. So the question still remains then, why is it there and why is it not so popular? Well, it could be of various reasons. But right now at the moment, we have looked at the concept of operational excellence, and we have been able to ensure that it is concordant with ISO 9004 2018 as published. Now that's an interesting move. So technically, it is possible for organizations with their own internal models, although they might not be following the exact model of either Border, GFQM, FNQ, or the Australian model, but they can still get concordance on that standard. And it's interesting that that standard finds its own right in the space of operational excellence, as we will see as we go through it. So we have COVID-19 that came along in the 20s, of course, greatly impacted on governance and humanity. It pushed the world quality and excellence vocabulary, concepts, approaches. It really put a lot of pressure on them. And the question was asked, can we still do into the future what we did yesterday in terms of QMS and MQS? And the answer is no. We will have to drastically reconfigure the traditional strategic ways of doing business, and we will have to consider new perspectives, which has come about and falls in the space of MQS, which is classically the human element, humanity. Accordingly, as part of the development of the African Excellence Model, we have taken extensive care to ensure a very big increase in the state of people and the role that people play in the organizations and how they are managed. Now, QMS, of course, as a resource, will look at the people side of the business. But MQS goes much further in ensuring the harmony of the business and its people, and humanity, of course, includes internal and external customers. So there could in future be a far greater emphasis, like we see in the African Excellence Model or the Arabian African Excellence Model, where people and the role of people and humanity is addressed far more than what it would be in the earlier days of quality and excellence. So then we see, in order to achieve this objective, looking at our people, we would see that, of course, sustainability and the outputs of our organizations and our people is always there. However, a new perspective in this case also have come about through the UN SDGs. So here today then we have business models, excellence models across the globe, all at the moment doing their level best to incorporate the UN SDGs in management models. Is it going to be easy? I don't know. It's going to be a tough task unless we integrate the UN SDGs not just as add-on functionalities to afford customers better management of the UN SDGs. We might have to incorporate them build them into the excellence models, and from that angle ensure that our enablers and our results find each other in terms of the objectives of the goals. No doubt, in this whole process, we will continue working on the humanity side of our business. And of course, we will be looking at the performance of the organization. And that performance, of course, would now have a slightly different focus on it to the era before COVID as to the era after COVID, and of course, setting the scene for the fourth industrial revolution that lies ahead of us. So performance today will have to be based on a bigger focus on humanity and, of course, the global perspectives that we see on this slide. So let's just take one step back if we look at management, the quality of management. Quality management system for products and service. On the other hand, management quality systems, where we look at the quality of management. Certainly, we have various levels in our organization, be it senior management at the top to employees at the bottom. And in those levels, we would have to revisit the drivers of the business model in terms of the interface between top management, middle management, and employees. Because operational excellence in the final analysis resides in the bottom of the organization, where the bulk of processes deliver in terms of the output of the organization, be it service or be it manufacturing. It doesn't matter. And at the upper levels, you will see middle management focusing on performance and top management focusing on governance. So conformance, performance, and corporate governance are now new perspectives that come into this discussion. Of course, the feedback top down in terms of strategy, bottom up in terms of performance. And to address this change post-COVID and with the new drivers of business and efficiency in the world, the MQS system that we are envisaging under the banner of SPEAR have consists now of the word SPEAR, that's its name. Okay, I just want to get rid of this. So what we have done with the SPEAR has got a specific meaning. So what we want to share with you is if we go back to this one very quickly, SPEAR stands for sustaining your success and performance in your organization, whereas performance focuses on the activities of machines and people. Excellence itself focuses on the execution of that. Performance on the planning, execution on the doing. Assessment would focus on the measurement, the evaluation, monitoring and evaluation of assessment, and of course results. So SPEAR then focuses on these 5 elements as part of its structure, of its pillars that make it happen. And of course, if you look at the P, the E, the A, and the R, particularly around sustainability, you may well find yourself looking at planning, doing, checking, and acting. So what we've done with the word SPEAR and the acronym SPEAR, we have embraced PDCA, and this now is the title and the name of the tool called the Operational Excellence Tools, which is the future tool to take excellence models as we see them today, and of course, make them a real management functionality in organizations, so that organizations on a real-time basis can know and be assured of the levels of excellence which they look at or look forward to, without annually going into a classic traditional awards assessment to find out what the state of their performance is. Equally, as I mentioned earlier on, the UN SDGs very much involved in the integration of the SPEAR as a tool. So once we get the tool, which is now MQS, it is now concordant with ISO 9004. There are 4 critical values or focus areas that SPEAR looks at. The first one it would look at is team activity, where processes are exposed to PDCA. Now remember, we're not talking about the products or the service, we are talking about the management systems, how the organization is managed at team level, how the organization is managed at unit level. At the team level, there is process excellence. At the unit level, we look at performance excellence. At the third level, we look at divisional units in organizations, large divisional units, and there we focus on functional excellence, as we call it. Of course, at the top, we have the whole organization. The organization itself, as represented by the executive, the boardrooms, and the C-suite, and they of course focus on governance. So what SPEAR does in a very unique designed way, it provides guides to those 4 levels, where each level can know exactly what their management requirements are in terms of many processes in the organization. Later on, we'll touch on the master data management system, which is part of SPEAR. So if we then look at team activities as far as the management of their process is concerned, ditto at that level, we have acronyms called GOE, GPE, GGE, and GGE. So this one focuses operational excellence, performance excellence. This is functional excellence at this level, and that's enterprise excellence at the top level. And in these documents, these guides, which are compiled based on the structure and the processes in the organization, the various management teams will find guidance, wisdom, and helping them in order that they can, like in QMS fashion style, in terms of standard operating procedures, we now have standard management operating procedures at the 4 levels as we have it. Now, SPEAR comes in this one at two packs. First one is called SPEAR 1. Now, SPEAR 1 looks at the enterprise and governance level, and SPEAR 2 looks at the others. So complete systems are in place to enable these various management teams at the various levels to know exactly what is required of them. Equally, we can assess them according to the quality of their leadership style. And of course, we can evaluate the performance levels against set criteria, which is contained in these guides. So now we have a QMS model on the one side with SOPs for products and service. And then on the other side, we have the guides, which is very similar to SOPs, but they are for the use of the teams, units, divisions at the top, each knowing at their specific levels. Of course, the seniority of these guides vary from time to time, and they are able to measure their performance as part of contributing to the measurement success of the organization in the space of better management quality. So let's have a look. SPEAR would, or quality management would, of course, be in place with its whole communication structure as per 9001. On the other hand, we've got 9004 coming into the equation with its communication structure at the bottom. So at the top end of the scale, products and services information, and at the bottom end of the scale, management style, management quality information. And these all come together under the banner of the spear. And of course, we use the gears to simulate the relationship where the assessment is done by spear for both MQS and its dependence on QMS, giving us the overall maturity assessment of the organization. Now, this is not a case of we are going to go MQS or 9004 in one direction or 9001 QMS in the other direction. No, these are integrated systems, and they need each other in terms of the competence, the efficiency, effectiveness, and eventually the same sustainability of the organization. They feed off each other. They inspire each other collectively. So the secret in SPEAR is how to blend and merge the success of QMS as part of the guidelines for products and services and blending it with MQS to give you the best worlds in the pursuit of organizational excellence. SPEAR does that. Of course, it is both QMS and MQS, SPEAR and as a tool finds inspiration in the elements of PDCA. So here we have a classic PDCA. It is in the QMS. That's known by many folks around the world. But MQS, in terms of 9004, have got a different angle to it, to equally use the PDCA concept to do the assessment of the management systems and styles in the organization. We go back just a little bit more just to see the interrelationships of how these things fit together. If we look at the diagram by Dr. Joseph Duran, we can see the total cost of quality giving us access to the three zones of assessment, validation, and confirmation. So what we see here as part of the of organizational growth, and in a minute we'll show you a maturity line from left bottom to top right. But as you can see in this zone where there is very little QMS activity, there are massive spikes, there's no maturity assessment, and of course a classic excellence index is not known in this space of an organization's structures. As it grows over a period of time, when it gets into the validation role, certainly cost imperatives come into it, prevention, appraisal, and waste and rework become a natural phenomenon in this organization. And of course, that brings about a total quality cost reduction. So this is research that has been done by Dr. Duran over many years and published with great effectiveness and success. We have found inspiration in this because ultimately the new levels of performance in the confirmation zone is going to give us our return on investment. And the question a widely asked question is, does it pay to invest in quality? Of course it pays to invest in quality, because the reduction where your previous levels of performance versus your new levels, that differentiator, that's net profit to your bottom line. So if we then look at the overall performance of organizations in terms of QMS, MQS, and the impact of operational excellence into the future, we can see, using the classic excellence model scores, which organizations in those scoring bands find themselves in this type of situation. 0 to 100, uncontrolled spikes, no maturity assessments. As the scores go up to 300 to 400, we will find a new perspective around cost management, cost reduction, and a revised total quality cost profile for the organizations in this score area. So The SPEAR brings all that out and ultimately manifests through the management of cost of quality where you are on the maturity level in terms of your scores as indicated at the bottom. And of course, if you are in this space here, the confirmation zone, you have done much work over the years in the space of assessment validation, and a bit later on you'll see another slide which shows where QMS and MQS fits in. You are certainly in the top category of 500 to 700 point organizations. So the question then today is, our organizations, where are they? Are they in the assessment zone, the validation zone, or the confirmation zone? And it's critical to ask these questions because, as we will see in a slide, 2 slides from now, the impact that management of quality systems and MQS together with SPEAR as a operational excellence tool, how that is going to help organizations to bridge the gap to become world-class players. And of course, in the bigger scheme of things, SPEAR as an operational excellence tool within the modern organization, of course, it's got a particular role to play. It will conduct regular assessments, not biannually or once every 2 years or 3 years. Assessments will get done routinely throughout the year. SPEAR provides that functionality. Fully integrated digital models. It will use PDCA. It will take you through the path of networks functioning, agreement on changes. There will be prioritization of the information that we recover from MQS assessments. Additional inputs will follow, of course, as the organization will grow in its stature and maturity. Improvement projects will come into the space, and of course, we will close the loop. So SPEAR as an operational excellence functionality is possibly the new future. And I'm saying this with choosing my words carefully, as the new tool to actually carry the organization beyond QMS through MQS to get it to the sustainable levels required by the UN SDG. SPEAR operational tool is that tool that will interface between product and service and management, bring the two together and give yourself a complete new loop looking forward. Any organization and every organization have got a heartthrob. It's like being in an ICU unit. We've seen it there. We can just have a look at it again. So what's the significance of this heartthrob? It's quite striking. On the left-hand side, you see the graphs going well outside the upper and lower limits of organizational capability in that organization. In the middle of the graph, you can see that the lines, the graphs are now inside the operating boundaries. And of course, on the far right, the new green lines, the organization is setting itself new benchmarking capability. Now, that is an interesting concept. We want to go from the left, we want to go to the right. QMS in its own right, with its focus on 40%, 40 to 50% of organization activity, will take you some of the way. But certainly, it's not going to carry you all the way to become that global player without investing quite a bit of time in operational excellence in order to ensure better management across the organization, as we saw early on. If we analyze this a little bit, there are 3 trilogy areas, very similar to what Dr. Duran has got. Now, these zones, we call them, some people play catch up. Other people are already being followed by their competitors. They are leading in the middle sector of the middle zone. And of course, we have our winners on the far right-hand side. So that is a complete perspective. If we come back to the catch-up zone, we will see organizations in this third zone here are the bulk of their time is around firefighting, simply because they operate outside the limits of accepted boundaries. Now the question is, what lies ahead for them? Where do they go? How do they restructure their approach to having a sustainable excellence or a sustainable developmental model as a business model? If we look at the maturity graph again, then we can see this is the section where QMS plays a major role. As the organization then grows in terms of its score that we saw in the previous slide, from 100 to 200 to 250, the organization, of course, appreciates the impact of its management systems on getting that graph or their score on that line to grow. And this is where MQS comes into it. We take the product quality and service quality on the left side. We add to that the MQS, which is the management component of it. And of course, then we are on our way to embracing the UN SDG goals. Now, these systems, both QMS, MQS, and of course, sustainable excellence models based on operational excellence, is not widely practiced in many organizations. There are some derivatives with their own hybrids. What we are saying ourselves as BAS and the creative technology team, that we are bringing MQS to our customers in Africa, and we hope to expedite, to increase the pace of them through operational excellence to achieve and meet the requirements of the UN SDGs. So we not only get our organizations up to the highest scoring levels in terms of low customer dissatisfaction and high customer delight in terms of the products and service that we make, we will certainly in those three zones see a complete transformation of this modern organization in terms of its humanity. If you look at the first zone on the left with the middle zone, you can see the difference in results there in a major way is a function of how well this organization in the middle zone have embraced the change around humanity. Because if your people are successful in your organization, then your customers will be satisfied. But if your people in your organizations are not satisfied, you will certainly sit in the zone number one, where activities is just firefighting all day and every day. And so on, we go into the third zone where winners are, where sustainability is, and there's a rewriting of operating standards in terms of boundaries, and of course the UN SDG goals is the new driver of goals in the organization. So what we then see is this new modern organization where there's a blend of QMS, MQS, and sustainability. We have the African Excellence Model or the African Arabian Excellence Model, and we will find beautiful integration between vision, mission, and values, our strategies, operations, performance, the SPEAR and its assessment functionalities, innovation, and we can go through budgeting, recognition, appreciation, performance, finance management, people development, goals and target setting. So what SPEAR 1 aims at is to take the organization at C-suite level and at the boardroom level and integrate these dynamics so that the organization have got a truly integrated management system across the spectrum of not only QMS, but equally MQS. And of course, it is then well positioned to address the challenges of the global of the UN SDG goals. That is where the excellence models becomes a major tool to guide and direct people as we move forward. This, of course, doesn't get done in a vacuum. We, as part of the Spear 1 and Spear 2, we bring a ISO 8000 functionality around domain management, language issues, people across spectrums, 8000 itself, flexibility, complete information system is part of the new MQS which we are offering our clients. So it doesn't matter where you are in your organization globally, information is at your fingertips in terms of how we collect it, how we collate it, how we interpret it around excellence modeling, around operational excellence, day-to-day activities, and of course, in the context of sustainability around the UN SDG goals. That is the future as we see business excellence being influenced by operational excellence into the future. So all this is only possible if we recognize the significance of the UN SDG goals, and they will in future have a much bigger role to play in the development and the enablers and the results of excellence models. We, of course, are influenced by the Global Excellence Council. Equally, in that space, much thinking goes into these new concepts in terms of humanity, in terms of intelligence, information, and that type of thing. The African Excellence Forum embraces it. We are thrilled that Creative Technologies is around in Egypt and the Middle East to take this new concept to our customers in that space. We, from BAS point of view, are the rightful owners and the intellectual property rights and trademarks of this peer program, and we look forward to taking it into the realms and embracing the African Arabian excellence model as well as the other excellence models. And as we were saying, as Samuel was saying in the opening words, operational excellence is the way to go. And the secret is how our respective excellence models in both in the African and the Arabian excellence model can embrace these to the benefit of our customers, and of course, to take them from the left-hand zones of chaos in management to the right-hand zones, to the right-hand side of the same zones, or sorry, the third zones, where sustainability and excellence is the future. We look forward to sharing your questions and trust that this has been of benefit to you. Thank you for the opportunity.